Hello, my name is Tim Newbert. I'm the Executive Director for the American Association for Employment and Education. I'd like to welcome you to AAE's webinar for educator candidates. How to rock your teaching interview remote style. By the way, I hope you're all registered to attend AAE's virtual job fair for teachers this Thursday, April 23rd. If not, please visit aaee.org and click on events. With me today is Dr. Sam Fecich, a professor of education from Grove City College in Pennsylvania and author of Edumagic, a guide for pre-service teachers, and Edumagic Shine On, a guide for new teachers, and host of the Edumagic podcast. Sam has joined us today to help you learn how to better navigate the ever-changing world of remote teacher interviews. Sam will give you her tips and tricks of the trade while answering any questions you have about how to best present yourself during a remote interview. During this webinar, you will learn about how to prep for a remote interview using technology and how to utilize educational technology during your remote interview. Over to you, Sam.
Hey, thanks so much for the intro, Tim. Yeah, I'm pumped to be here, guys. Today, we're going to be talking how to rock your teacher interview remote style. So before we get started, I have a little Pear Deck for us to check out and to jump into. So if you guys head on over, I popped into the chat. If you go to joinpd.com, that's PD for Pear Deck, joinpd.com, and the code for today's session is PGJOQ, or as how Pear Deck has it in here, Purple Grapes Jump Orange Quizzes. So I would love for you guys to hop in there and you guys can interact with the content that I'm presenting to you today. And engage with it in some really cool ways. So we're going to be using Pear Deck. So head on over to joinpd.com. That's joinpd.com. And the code that you're looking for today's session is PGJOQ, or Purple Grapes Jump Orange Quizzes. And I popped that in the chat. And yeah, awesome. So we have a couple of people in already. We have 2 people in, but we have a lot more than that hanging out in our participants. So if you guys need any help, just pop something in the chat and I'll be able to help you out. So we got some people rocking and rolling here. Excellent.
And real quickly, Sam, I forgot to mention at the top that if anybody has questions that they want to submit, please use the Q&A section of Zoom here.
And I popped it back into the chat so you can see the link. And Aaron, I don't know your password for Microsoft, so I'm sorry, you'll have to figure that out. I only know mine, so that's something good. Yeah, awesome, fantastic, cool. All right, so we have a couple more people hopping in. As we begin the class today, you'll see as I advance my slides, your slides will advance. So it's a beautiful tool that you can use to engage students, not only in an online space like this, but also in a face-to-face class. So I hope to demo this tool for you as a teaching tool. And you might even want to use it for student teaching, field work, or even your first year teaching in that virtual space or in the face-to-face space. You don't need a Microsoft address to log in. You should be able to just log in with Google or your email address. And if you don't have one, that's fine. I will just share my screen and we can still work through it. So let me just open up my screen here and I'll share that so you guys can still see the presentation here. And we'll see that you can actually see from the teacher perspective too. So this will be kind of cool. All right, so on the top right-hand side of the screen, you'll still see the code. So you can join at any time for our session today. And you'll also get a little sneak peek about what it looks like from the teacher perspective when presenting with Pear Deck. So today we're going to be talking about some strategies to help you rock your teacher interview. As you know, a lot of them are moving to remote interviews. And Tim mentioned at the top of the hour that there's a AAEE virtual job fair coming up on Thursday. So some of these tips you can definitely use for that for that experience. And if you want more information about that, you'll have to ask him. And I know you can check out AAEE's website for more information. Any takeaways from today's session? If you wouldn't mind tagging them, you can tag me at Fecich in AAEE.org and use the hashtag Edumagic in that. That'd be fantastic. All right, so let's get rocking and rolling. Thanks, Tim, for the awesome intro. So if you notice the theme, there's a little bit of an Edumagic theme going on here. So you can find me over on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to connect after this session, please hit me up there. I'm more than happy to do a private conversation with you over email or whatever you need. I just want to support and help you out because we truly are better together when it comes to working within this online space. My dad has told me throughout the last few weeks, he says, Sammy, although we're all online, it doesn't mean that we're alone. And it's so true. Educators, we are here to help and support one another. We're here to encourage, we're here to challenge, and we're here to build each other up. And just because we're online and all these different places around the world, we can all still connect and we can all still help each other, especially when it comes to online interviews. So let's get rocking and rolling. If you're in the Pear Deck presentation, you should have some interaction going on here. So today we're talking about remote style interviews. I want you to put a happy face, which whatever you're excited about, and then you have a little question mark there. What are you unsure about? So we have a couple of options here. It's kind of our agenda for the day, if you so to speak. So we're going to talk about how to prep for your interview. We're going to talk about some best practices during the virtual interview and how to really seal that deal for that virtual space. Here on the teacher view, if you're checking out the teacher view, I can click on show responses. And look, here's all of our responses in real time. We have people navigating. We're excited. It looks like we're mostly excited about the logistics, the lights, camera, action. We're a little concerned or unsure about some of the follow-up and seal the deal type stuff. That one, guys, that's follow-up, I think is the easiest part, and you can really shine with that piece. So as a teacher, whenever, just a fun fact, if I were to, well, someone's really moving their smiley face around. If I were to download everyone's responses, I can see who put what where. So that's kind of cool to make some teaching inferences based on the content. All right, so I know we're super excited about getting some logistics in, and I like to call this section lights, camera, action, because it really is about lighting, it's about the camera, and it's about the actions that you put forth whenever you're doing even a video virtual interview, and you can really have your personality shine through in this virtual space. So first and foremost, rule number one, I want you to get out a calendar or an agenda book, however you document your day and your routine. I want you to write down when you have these interviews and let your family know about it, or your roommates or whoever. If you have someone living with you, let them know. The worst thing you could have, or not the worst thing, one thing you probably wouldn't want to have during an interview is someone rushing in or walking behind you during an interview. You remember that there's I think it was someone was being interviewed on CNN, and his toddler comes rushing in the back, and his wife comes running in and grabs the toddler and runs out the room. Yes, that makes for a great meme, but you don't really want that for your teaching interview. So let them know, let the people around you in your space know when you're having an interview, what time it'll be. I would give yourself some cushion, maybe 15, 20 minutes before to prep, make sure everything's ready to go, and 15 to 20 minutes after. So you have a nice cushion of time in case things either start early or they can go a little longer than expected. And that's okay. So give yourself some time, give yourself some cushion space around there when it comes to letting people know that you have an interview going on, and let them know where you'll be doing that interview. Will it be in the office? Will it be downstairs? Wherever it'll be. So make sure it's a quiet space for you to conduct that interview. All right, so I have a couple of things to check yourself, because we all need to be able to double check to make sure we have a couple of things jiving before we even get started within our virtual interview, especially if it's going to be video based. We need to make sure our background here is clean and clear. We don't want anything going on back here behind us. We want to make sure it has professional vibes. So for some examples, I've seen students have bookshelves behind them. You probably don't want to pull up a fun background on Zoom of you in space. Yep, that's cute for a teacher, but probably don't want that for your interview. And then making sure that that the background is clean, it's clear, and it has a professional vibe to it. If you can sit in front of a stack of books or a bookshelf, things like that. Also, it's really important that you're sitting high enough in your chair. So for my setup that I'm looking at here, I have a monitor that's stacked on a box and then I have the webcam up top, and then on my chair I have two pillows stacked up, so I'm like at an appropriate height, so the webcam is right within my eyesight. So I'm always looking at that webcam, I'm looking at that dot, so it looks like I'm looking at people in their eyes instead of looking at, if I turn here, looking at my thumbnail. So it's always, I'm keeping that eye contact with my interviewer. So you want to make sure that your webcam is within eyesight, that you're sitting up properly in your chair, you have enough height between the monitor and the webcam and your chair as well. It's really important to keep those ergonomics, straight, or else, you can get kind of sore sitting in front of the computers. I'm sure we've all learned, especially if we're all taking online courses. Lighting, super important. I don't know if you guys remember an old episode of Seinfeld where he was dating somebody, and in certain lighting, she was gorgeous. And then whenever she got into some dark lighting and shadowy things happen, he's like, I don't know who you are. So you want to make sure your lighting is appropriate. You want to make sure that it's bright, and I like to keep the windows open, the blinds open in the space that I'm in. I turn on every single light in the room. I even bring a lamp, so I have a little desk lamp sitting here, and then my husband also has one of those big industrial lights that he shines on the wall to have the light reflect back. You don't want any weird shadows on your face, so you want to make sure the lighting in your space is as ideal as possible. So best piece of advice, collect all the lamps and put them in your space and make sure that you don't have any weird shadows. You also don't want to be too bright. You don't want to look too washed out. So just making sure that your lighting is appropriate, that you're in a quiet space, and that your background is clear. Audio, make sure whenever you get into your virtual space, however you're doing it, through Skype, through Zoom, through Google Hangouts, whatever tech tool that the school district is using, that you use those little setup features ahead of time. So that sometimes in the room you can go to your settings and you can test. Please test it out. Test it out before you get there. Test the audio. Make sure the speakers that the audio is coming back from is the correct speakers that you have set up. Test your mic. Do the test 1, 2, 3 type deal, making sure that the audio is picking up your mic nice and clear. If you have a headset, use one. I got this one from Amazon for like 25 bucks. It's super cheap and really good quality. You want to make sure that you have the best quality that you can in the space that you have. So again, making sure your background is set properly, you have some nice lighting, your audio, you're using the correct speakers that you have selected on that testing option. Whenever you go into a space, you can test out your audio and your video, making sure that the correct webcam is selected. That's happened to me a couple of times where I'm like, why is it all dark in here? Why can't I see myself? Oh, I didn't select the right webcam. So learn from that and try it out yourself. And if you can, try it out with somebody before you get into that meeting. So if you know that they're going to be using Zoom or Skype or Google Hangouts, try getting familiar with the tool ahead of time. Oh, I already talked about this, but we want to make sure our webcam, the correct one, is selected, and keep it professional. So you don't want to, I know there's like this meme going out there about the mullet type thing where you look professional on the top and you have sweatpants on the bottom. You want to dress professional top to bottom, head to toe, because you never know if something might happen. You might have to get up and shut the door. You might have to adjust your headset. You might have to get up from the interview, and you don't want to stand up. You have a nice blouse on and you got some sweats on the bottom. So you want to dress professional. That'll just help your confidence when it comes to having that virtual interview, help you really feel the part, like, yes, I'm having an interview. I'm going to be a professional. I'm going to dress like I'm going into an interview, like I'm going in face to face, because you kind of are. Even though you have a screen between you, you are going to be seeing other people's faces. So dress professional and keep your video professional. So really go in there, positive attitude, let your beautiful personality shine through, and be the professional educator that you truly are, and you will be just fine, friends. All right, so remember we talked about in the beginning that whole webcam deal. It's really easy to just have your eyes shift down to that thumbnail and talk to that thumbnail of yourself. Friends, don't do that. Look into the light. Look into the light of your webcam or the green dot or whatever you have for your webcam, and just look at that and talk to that space. It does feel kind of weird talking to it, but I would say practice and try to get comfortable with it. It really is like making eye contact with that interviewer. So you have that that eye contact, and you're not looking at yourself over in that thumbnail, which can be very tempting to do. So remember, look at the camera, not the screen when it comes to video, for video. Also, it's so important to practice your presence. Maybe you have to practice sitting up with your back straight in the chair so your eyes are directly at that webcam level. Practice, if you can, practice with a relative. Have them call in through Skype or through Zoom or through Google Hangout. If you can find out ahead of time what the school district might be using to interact with their candidates, try it out. Download Zoom or yeah, especially if they're using Zoom, download it before your interview, like the day before, so you can test it out and try it out. You don't want to wait 15 minutes before your interview. Oh, I'm using Zoom, I should probably download that. Yeah, you should probably have that downloaded the day before. It'll help de-stress, and also when you practice, it helps build your confidence when it comes to being interviewed in this virtual space. It'll help you with making that eye contact. It'll even help you notice like the lighting around you. So if you're able to record it and make some notes, that's even better. That's a fantastic idea. So then you can get some ideas about how your audio sounds, how your video looks, how the lighting is, those types of things. So if you can record yourself while you practice, do it. It'll give you just a good sense of the technology tool, how to navigate through it, how to use the different features within the tool as well. One of my colleagues shared, you want to make sure that you have the school districts, the best email address that they're checking and the best phone number that they're using. So in case something breaks down during that virtual call, that you can still contact them through their email address that that they have access to, or the phone number that they're checking. So you can still continue with that interview in a professional way. And then I have a couple of other features when it comes to practicing your presence. You might even want to try out screen sharing. It really is a great way for you to show what you know, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later in today's presentation. If you have your chat bot up, so if you have a little chat box up in the corner here, you can see my screen's flashing with the little chat. As people have questions or comments, you can even go in there and make sure you share with them, the interviewer, your information. So maybe you want to share an email address and a phone number that you'll be checking just in case communication breaks down. You want to be able to have that available to them. If you're doing some screen sharing during the interview, during the video interview, first ask if it's okay. May I please share my screen with you? I would love to show you how I worked through positive classroom management during student teaching, or whatever it might be. So make sure you ask permission. And then sometimes the interviewer might have to hand permissions over, like in a Zoom meeting. If you're not the presenter, then you have to be given permission to present your screen or to share your screen. But in Google Hangouts, you just select share screen. In Microsoft Teams, you can select share screen. But make sure you're clear about why you want to share your screen and how it's going to, show the interviewer what you're talking about and what you want to explore more in that question. Make sure that you close all the other things out. Yes, you want to make sure you've closed out your email, Gmail, Outlook, all the email address, all the email inboxes. You want to close out your Twitter, your Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all the things. Close them out, except for the tabs that you might want to share during the interview. So this might be a beautiful space for you to have maybe 1 or 2 tabs up for your digital portfolio that you want to showcase during your interview. So close everything else out. And if you can, close out those or like delay the notifications. Like if you have something that bings on your desktop every time you have an email, shut that down. You don't want stuff binging and banging all over your interview. You want to have that closed out. It just helps you prepare as a professional, so you can focus in on those on the questions that the interviewer is asking. You're not like, oh no, I have an email. It distracts you quickly, and then you can come back to it. So just take that out of the equation. So take out those notifications. and close everything else out, except for a couple things you might want to screen share with your interviewer. So quick gauge here. We have about 38 people in the session on the Pear Deck. How are we feeling so far about setup and like the lights, camera, action deal? How are we feeling so far? And I'm going to click show responses. Oh, we're feeling pretty good. We got some people moving over there. Awesome. Feeling a little in the middle, kind of good. Good. We got somebody still not feeling great. Hopefully that person who's not feeling so great, you can drop it down in the chat and we can help you guys out. Awesome. Good. Very nice. Okay. All right, so we have a couple of those best practices. Let's recap them really quick. We have making sure our background, what's in their background, is clear, clean, professional. We want to make sure we're dressed head to toe as professional educator that we are, because we're engaging in that professional responsibilities. We're getting an interview, and that's fantastic. So let's dress the part. We want to make sure our webcam and our video is the best quality that it can be. We have it heightened as best as we can, so our eyes are directly in line with our webcam. We want to make sure we're sitting up straight in our chair, and so we have those the height pieces of ready for us. We have lighting taken care of. We want to practice the tool that we're using, Zoom, Google Hangout, Teams, all the things. We want to practice using that so we get more comfortable with it, with sharing our screen, with using the chat feature, with practicing with the audio and the video. And if we can, we're going to record it just to see how we did, and we can make adjustments. And first and foremost, we want to make sure we let everyone in the house know when that interview is, what date, what time, and where we're going to be conducting that interview, so we're not getting interruptions. All right, friends, we're doing pretty good. Let's keep rolling here. We have some best practices that I want to share with you as our next part of our presentation for today. There are some common questions. You guys can check those out. There's so many questions out there, but the most important thing you want to make sure that you do during an interview is show and not tell. And we're going to talk about that in just a few moments here. So my good friend Dave Schmittou, who wrote the book Bold Humility, he shares this for all of you. I went out on Facebook, I was like, hey guys, I'm doing this webinar. What advice do you have? Well, the responses poured in, and that's what helped structure this presentation. But I love this piece that he shared. Your resume got you the interview. Be real, focus on what makes you you. And I couldn't agree more. Your resume, your cover letter got you this. Friends, that is something to be celebrated. You have an interview, and that's phenomenal. Your personality, your positivity, your light is just going to shine through that webcam and beam right into that interviewer. And it's so much fun to think about how you can really leverage some of these technology tools to engage in that conversation and really show the interviewers what you're all about. It's so important to be you, be authentic during your interview. Be who you are, be who you are meant to be. And if the school chooses you and you choose that school, it's a beautiful fit. Don't just go for an interview and because you really need a job. Go for a school that really speaks to your teaching heart, speaks to your passions, and one that you feel is a good fit for you. So I'll get off my soapbox. Let me just step down off of that, and I'll keep rocking and rolling here. So first things first, we're going to do a little activity, friends. So get those googly fingers ready. You want to pull up your phone or your tablet, or you can pull up another tab in your browser. It's so important to Google yourself. And that sounds really weird when you say it out loud. I totally get it. But truly, you want to know what's out there about. You want to control that positive, professional digital presence. And the first way to do it is to Google yourself. See what's out there. Actually go under images and news and video, web results, all the things, and see what's out there about you. And if you can, get ahead of it. If you want to show off some really cool stuff, maybe you've really been working on your positive digital professional presence. That's awesome. Maybe you have a great professional Twitter or Instagram account. Hopefully that rises to the top. Maybe you have an awesome digital portfolio that you've been rocking these past 4 years. Kudos to you. Let's get that out there and let's show people all the awesome stuff you've been doing in your coursework and your fields, observations, and student teaching. So it's so important to own your professional presence and make it just that. your professional presence, because you want something to be out there about you. You want it to be positive and you want it to be professional. And that's a whole other topic. But for today, I would like you guys to just do a super itty bitty Google search. I want you to see what comes up. What are some positive things that come up about you? Are there some things you're maybe not so proud of? Maybe there's something that's just neutral. Maybe you're it was like something with athletics, or you were on the dean's list for your college. Those are great things. You want to highlight those. Maybe nothing comes up about you. And friends, that's not good either, because in this day and age, we want something to come up about us. We want it to be positive and professional. I've had administrators make hiring decisions based on what comes up in a Google search, or based what comes up on somebody's professional Twitter or Instagram account. They want to know that their candidates are up to date, that they're informed, that they know about best practices, that they're connecting online. And by having a positive digital presence on Twitter, on Instagram, LinkedIn, all the things, it really shows that you're able to navigate social media in positive ways. Highlight yourself as a professional educator and have a digital portfolio that really showcases the great content that you have. So let's do a little itty bitty Google search, and I'm just going to pull up some responses here. Professional photo, awesome. Making dean's list, merit pages. Oh, that sounds like fun. Cross country, sorry, words are hard on a Monday. Cross country records, excellent. Sweet 16 video. Maybe we'll watch that. Make sure it's professional and it shows us in a good light. So for some of us who have things with people, who have people that are has the same name as us, do not fret, do not worry, you can own it. So I want you to own that professional presence. Maybe you want to have your first name, middle name, last name, and everything for your professional life. That's what you use. So for example, mine would be Samantha Jo Fecich. I almost said my maiden name. That was weird. There's a colleague that I have. Her name is Amanda Jean Reichert. And honestly, I didn't know her last name for like 3 years, because on Twitter and Instagram, she's Amanda Jean, and she's my great teacher friend, Amanda Jean. And that's all I ever called her. And so she found, whenever she was in college studying to be a teacher, she Googled herself. And what came up was a very unsavory Amanda Reichert. So she's like, you know what? I'm going to just start owning. I'm going to put my first name and my middle name. And that's what I'm going to use for all my professional accounts, my professional Pinterest, my Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. And that's all she used. And as she started to build this, that's what people knew her as. And so whenever she was going out for interviews and sending her resume out there, she had very easily on her resume, her Twitter handle, probably her Pinterest with Amanda Jean, and her digital portfolio that she still keeps up to date today, which is fantastic. And so now the interviewers don't have to go far. They can just go and find what she's all about. And I think that's such a beautiful story, to really start owning your positive digital presence, and maybe pairing that up with your first name, middle name. Some students have done something like Mr. Joshua Fecich, and then that's everything they use on their professional accounts. So find something that suits your style, still has your professional account. You don't want super cutie 123, that's not professional. You want to have something that really shows you as a professional educator. So making sure that you're doing that, and Googling yourself often is really important as well. Wedding registry, church recognition, rowing competitions, LinkedIn. Okay, that's fine. So hopefully at the end of this session, you guys could work through having a couple of really cool things come up about you. I will say that social media does tend to rise to the top with Google search, and as you update your digital portfolio, as you're blasting stuff out on Twitter and Instagram and through your professional accounts, your professional account will start to rise to the top there when it comes to searching. Now, for those who have digital portfolios, totally pop that on your resume, send that out to interviewers. I think that's a fantastic way for you to keep that professional content going, and they can always go back to that and they can see the updates that you've done as a professional educator, things that you've learned about and continued to grow with. Okay, so these are just some best practices overall for even if you're doing a face-to-face or a virtual interview. You want to make sure, my friend Emily Bach shares, that you connect your passions and the community and the culture of that school. You want to make sure that that school is a good fit for you. You just don't want to take a job because you need one. yeah, we all need jobs and we need to pay, we have bills to pay and rent to pay, but we also want to make sure that the job that we find speaks to our teaching hearts and that it really is a good fit for us. And the best way to do that is to research those schools. So find schools that are on that registry, especially if we're going to go to that virtual fair on Thursday. Find schools that are on there. Google search them, see what innovative programs that they have, see how you can share your passions with those students at that school, and share how you can have your light shine in their building and in their school and in their district. It really is a beautiful thing when a teacher and a school, they find each other, and it's a beautiful match because they're able to raise each other up and support each other when it comes to being a new teacher. So I want you to find out something interesting about each of the districts that you're interviewing with and bring that up during the interview. Make it something more than just, oh, I noticed that you have a Spanish immersion class. You know, share about an experience or maybe why you think that's interesting. Or I noticed you have a sign language club at your high school. Would you tell me more about that? I would love to explore that as a new teacher. I'm fluent in sign language and I can share, and just make your passions known and how you can bring those passions to that school and to that building. All right, so we talked a little bit earlier about show and don't tell. Oh my gosh, guys. So don't just tell them a story, show them the story. We all know that phrase, an image is worth 1,000, or a picture is worth 1,000 words. It truly is. And using digital media to connect with interviewers is fantastic way to do that. So when it comes to them asking you questions about maybe what are some ways that you've managed the classroom, either in a face-to-face or a digital environment? Maybe you have a great project that you did for a class, or maybe you've done that for student teaching. Pull that up in your portfolio. So making sure that your portfolio is easy to navigate, is easily organized. You can pull up ideas and strategies and examples that you've done in real life. Really show them and paint that picture for them of you completing whatever question that they've asked or working towards the question that they asked. So for example, maybe they might ask something related to professional development. What are some professional development activities you've experienced during your college career? You can share your list of experiences, or you can just tell them about it, or you can share a little blog post you did about a guest speaker that came to class, something like that. So see, there's a difference there. Here's all the professional development that I did. And you have all these bullet pointed lists, or you can have, I've explored a lot of different professional development experiences during my college career. Here's one that really spoke to me as a teacher, and here's why. And then show them maybe a snippet of the blog post, or maybe you have a picture of you and the speaker with a big thumbs up. I don't know, however you have it. It would be a really great way for them to see truly what you've experienced and be able to ask you questions about that and have a real conversation with you about that experience. So it's important to use your digital portfolio, share that screen with them, but be sure to ask for permission first. They might have to do a little bit of setup on their end, and really have those tabs up ready to go. So you can just go right to them. You don't have to, hold on, I got to get to this one page. Oh, wait, that's not the right page. Really have all the pages that you want to share up. So for example, I know here in Pennsylvania, we're evaluated throughout the Charlotte Danielson framework for teaching. Maybe you want to have some different ideas of how you've demonstrated each of those domains within student teaching. You can have a little page related to that. You can have them up on your tab. So you're ready to go with any question that they have. You can have an example for them to see you in action. Now, for the virtual job fair through AAEE on Thursday, they'll be hosting interview through chat. Is that correct, Tim?
That's correct. It'll be
Cool.
a text-based conversations, chat, keyboard-based conversations, chats. Some recruiters may also share video links to be used immediately or at a future time. So as Sam said, definitely, for a lot of reasons, you want to be, present yourself in a professional manner, even from a visual standpoint, because you might need to go on camera at any given time.
Yes, I love it. Thank you so much. So some best practices for that chat-based interview. First, do not chat. Don't chat in the chat box like you text on your phone. You want to make sure you're using using full sentences, that you're being as clear as possible. And it's also good just to drop in, my good friend Ingrid shared that you want to make sure that you drop in your number and your email address, and also get theirs best number and email address. We talked about that beforehand, just in case. You never know with technology. Sometimes, you know, I always say technology is great when it works, right? So you want to make sure you have some backup plans too, to connect with that interviewer. So make yourself stand out. One way, even if you're doing a chat-based interview, dress professionally. Guys, it'll set that mindset into a positive professional one, and that's what you want to shine through. So dress professionally. You got this interview, and let's go nail it over on that chat. And you want to make sure that you're using some best practices, being a professional. Don't chat in there like you text. Use full sentences. Be as clear as possible. When you can, give examples of the questions that they're asking you, and be able to expand upon them just a little bit. You don't want to write them a whole novel, but you want to expand upon some of the answers that you're giving to the interviewer. All right, friends. So here is a great question. And I'm going to ask this to some student teachers that I'm seeing at 3 o'clock today. And I'd love to see your response here in the pair deck. So what have you been doing during this pandemic to enrich your teaching and learning? And maybe for some of you, this is what you're doing. You're attending webinars, you're listening to podcasts, you're reading some books, you're guest posting on blogs or reading articles, whatever it might be. I want to know, how have you been using this time to really enrich yourself and invest in yourself as an educator? Ooh, baby, look at these responses. These are amazing. All right, so we have gathering resources for mentored teachers, professional development such as podcasts, webinars, Google Classroom training, webinars with 4 exclamation points. Awesome. Listening to podcasts. Hopefully Edumagic's on your list, whoever that is. Nannying and tutoring children. That's wonderful. Converting lessons to an online website. Woo, baby, that's something I want to see. So whoever wrote that, totally direct message me. I'm going to see this. This is amazing. Yeah, and this is something you can showcase during your interview. This is awesome. Letters of recommendation. Oh my gosh, yes, do that now. This is a great time to do that. Fantastic. Making activities for kids to complete. Been on Zoom with them every week. Amazing. Listening to podcasts, exploring technology, going to Zoom meetings. Oh, see, we got job fairs, and maybe you signed up for the one on Thursday. That's amazing. Attending workshops offered by my university, reading books. This is awesome, guys. Fantastic. Webinars, reading, researching. Fantastic. Very cool. So it looks like you guys have been making the most out of this teacher quarantine. And if I can make a few suggestions, there's a couple of things that you can do to make yourself stand out in addition to webinars and podcasts and reading and researching. Those are beautiful things, and keep doing those. But something you can do kind of on your own time at your own pace, if you would like to explore using some different technology tools. I know Google offers certification level 1 and level 2. They also have trainer certifications. The Google training itself to be a certified Google trainer or educator, sorry about that. The trainings themselves are free, but to take the test to get the official badge, it costs $10 for level 1, $25 for level 2, but you can take the trainings for free. So you can learn more about using Google Suite, Google Classroom within your online space. And then Microsoft offers learning courses. They offer learning paths that you can customize for your own needs. So I have my future teachers exploring learning paths maybe related to things that they're interested in. For example, they have a learning path for STEM, they have a learning path for accessibility, and you would go through and complete their courses. Their courses take about an hour to complete, and in order to be a Microsoft Innovative Educator, be a certified Microsoft Innovative Educator, you need to complete about 2 courses. And that's a great way for you to show, hey, here's some cool tools that I've learned about, and here's how I can implement them into my face-to-face or my online class, and just, you know, set you apart a little bit. You can add that to your resume, add that into your digital portfolio as well. Those are some great strategies, and shout it out over on Instagram and Twitter that you are a certified educator, because that is amazing. So I'm so proud of you guys. I love that you guys are taking this time to to really engage with what it means to be an educator of excellence, and looking through those resources, collecting materials from your cooperating or mentor teacher, and creating content for them to use in their online space. I have a couple of 3 resources here. These are all podcast episodes with show notes that go along with it. But there's a couple here. All of them were interviews with principals or superintendents about the job interview process. The one up here, the 10 tips for a superstar interview, episode 5 was with Dr. Josh Weaver, and he shares what he looks for in a special ed candidate, a special ed teacher candidate, and that's a fantastic interview. But he also gives great examples. So that's just another, he walks through 10 steps of things to be working through as you start your job interview process, starting with spell check on your resume and cover letter and online application, all the way through your job interview, your teaching interview. The next one with John Martinez, he's a principal over in California. He shares the importance of sharing your teaching story during your interview, and how you can share that in a positive way that really speaks to the interviewer, and how you can use that during your interview process. And then the last one with Dr. Greg Cottrell, he shares the whole teaching interview process at his school in New Jersey from beginning to end, and he has great tips embedded throughout. And all of those resources there have little PDFs that go alongside them, so you can go in, listen to the interview, listen to the podcast episode, and take some notes. And they have some great tips alongside them that you guys can check out. And just for a side note, you'll get this presentation at the end, so don't sweat it. Don't feel like you have to write everything down. Probably should have said that at the beginning. All right, follow up, guys. This is seal the deal type stuff that we're talking about. And this is the easiest thing that you can do. But you know what? A lot of people forget to do this. So you want to be that teacher that remembers to do this. Can anyone guess what it could possibly be? And I want to see what you guys have down in the Zoom chat. What do you think will be the one thing that you need to do after an interview? And I'm going to open up the chat here. Maybe I'll open the chat. Nope, it's okay. Oh, yes. Oh, fantastic. All right. I got the chat open, by the way, in case you guys are wondering. Yes. You guys got this. Whoop, whoop. Yep. It's a thank you note, a thank you letter. Reiterate your interest in that thank you note. Yes. You guys are, oh, a call. Oh, someone going above and beyond there. Fantastic. Send an email, a thank you email. Yeah, you guys got it. Absolutely. Those are that's exactly what it is. A thank you goes a long way. It truly does. And you know what? People forget to do it. What? I know. That's crazy, right? Write a thank you note. Write a thank you email. If you can, send it to the school district. Wouldn't that be fun? They get a little thank you card. And that just, you went the extra mile. You did that extra little thing. It's important for you to, if you can, this is what I like to do before an interview. If you can know who's going to be interviewing you ahead of time, especially for this virtual space, if you're doing a chat interview, maybe if you know who it's going to be and they have their picture up online, have their little picture up in the corner, or maybe print it out and put it up by your webcams. You're talking to that person. But in all seriousness, you want to make sure that you have a thank you, personalized thank you note for each person who interviewed you, thanking them for their time, thanking them for the thoughtful questions. And this is also a great place for you to follow up, like somebody mentioned in the chat, on something mentioned during the interview. So maybe somebody asked you, what are some ways that you engage students using educational technology, and you were able to think of 2 examples that you did in student teaching. But after the interview, lots of things come to your mind of ways that you've engaged students, and maybe you forgot to mention the most important thing, which whenever we're engaging students, that it's meaningful, it's thoughtful, and it's valuable. So maybe you want to add that, like, in regards to the question about how I integrated educational technology into my student teaching classroom, here are some ways that I did in online space, here are some ways I did face-to-face, and this is why I decided to use these technology tools. So just, maybe if you want to add some extra sprinkles onto that, sprinkle some lovely, rainbow sprinkles on there, put a link to your digital portfolio that shows you in action doing that thing that you talked about, because that'll just add some extra spice, and we love that. There's also a podcast episode, episode 6, all about the thank you letter. Friends, it even has a little prompt there for y'all. And it's so important whenever you're writing these thank you letters that you keep track of who you sent the letter to from which district. You don't want to be that person that sends an email to someone from a different district, thanking them from an interview from a different interview. Oh, that's just a mess. So you want to make sure you have a little table there set up with who you sent the email to, what their email address is. Make sure you send it to the right email address. It's also really important. Make sure you didn't mix up the .pa, .k12, .us's, and you want to make sure that you have that sending out to the correct person. And you want to address them, Mr., Mrs., Miss, Doctor, whoever it might be. And then also sign your name professionally. In that email documentation. But like I said, there's a whole episode all about that. All right, I want to pause here. What are some takeaways from the thank you note or from the interview during the interview process that we talked about that you are excited to implement, that you're looking forward to trying out? Make sure you look at the dot on your screen. Yes. Show, don't tell. Present your professional website. Of course, present that website. Get those tabs going and show them what awesome stuff you've done. Thank you email. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Oh, I want to see your personalized thank you. Whoever wrote that, can you totally like send me your personalized thank you? I would love to see what you have there. Incorporating your portfolio for sure. Oh, screen sharing. Yes, that's a great way for you to show what you know and to show the employer, hey, I got some tech skills. Check these out. Yeah, totally practice talking to the dot because it does feel weird when you first start out, but as you get used to it, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. I once heard somebody will put a picture of the person that they're talking to, like a little printed picture up on top of their webcam. So it's like they're talking to that person. That might help you out. Incorporating your portfolio. Excellent. These are fantastic, friends. Awesome job. Creating a professional environment. Yeah, get those professional vibes going. Yes, be yourself, be you, smile, have fun, get excited because you got this interview. You're going to rock it and it's going to be amazing. All right, so I want to stop here. We have about 15 minutes left in our session today. What questions do we have? I know my screen is popping up with stuff from chat. I got stuff from Q&A. So let's open it up to some questions that you guys have for me. And I would love to hear. And remember, the smartest person in the room is the room. So if you have ideas on how to address that, please drop that in the chat too.
So Sam, I've got a few from the chat, and folks, you can keep using either the Q&A portion of Zoom here or the chat. But this is from early on. Somebody asked, what should you do about pets?
Well, I have I have 2 cats and a 3-year-old here with me. My 3-year-old luckily is taking naps, so I scheduled this interview during her nap time. And then my cats are out in the breezeway. So I'm trying to keep them like as far away from the room in which I am conducting the interview or the talk. If that's not possible, yeah, I would try to keep them maybe in a different room if you can. Make sure like they're occupied, they have stuff that they can do, like they have access to everything they need. So our cats have access to their food, their water, their litter box, they have toys in there, stuff like that. And I would schedule the interview if you have other people in the house during a quiet time in the house, if you can. If you have little ones in the house, if you can schedule it during nap time or after hours, that could be helpful too.
Okay. What do you think about earphones, earbuds? Do you think they're as professional as a headset?
I think they're fine. If that's, I have a pair of earbuds here. I use them for a couple of interviews, especially using Instagram. I think they're fine as long as your audio is as clear as it can be and your headset or your earbuds have like a little mic, most of them do, attached to it. And if you want to like pull that mic up at all, like if you can clip it to something so it's like up close to your mouth, that could be helpful.
Great. So we have a couple of people, I think, on today who are not yet certified as teachers. So they're wondering, you know, what do you think about them attending virtual job fairs or any job fair, and you know, talking to a recruiter about, you know, as someone who can teach or someone who's interested in teaching.
So maybe people who are juniors or sophomores attending a virtual job fair, not just seniors. Is that kind of the gist of the
Yeah, and I
question?
think we've got a couple of folks who maybe are career changers or potential career changers.
Tim, can I put that one on you there?
I wanted to
Because, you
see.
know, you're AAEE virtual job fairs,
Yeah,
so I feel
yeah,
like you have the most experience with that.
yeah. I mean, in my opinion, you mean, and person asked the person asking the question are also said, or should I just look to network at this point in time? I think in my opinion, most recruiters are going to be interested in speaking to you if you are, even if you're not yet a certified teacher. There will certainly be some that will, be frustrated. They want somebody who's ready to hit the ground running now. But most recruiters would be happy to at least spend a few minutes speaking with you and talking to you about the prospects of being a teacher, more specifically being a teacher in their district. So I don't think that you should, in my opinion, you should not avoid, the opportunity to go to a career fair, and certainly a virtual event is even more accessible. And most certainly AAE is an organization, and most of the people that I know in the field would be very interested in encouraging and supporting somebody who's considering a career in teaching. So that would be my response to that question. Sorry, I'm looking through all the chats here, getting through all the thank you note people supporting that. And as a
Yay.
all right, here we go. Any platform recommendation, Sam, for an online portfolio?
Oh, heck yeah. So there's so many out there that you guys can use. They're all free. The ones I'll mention are all free and really easy to use. They're drag and drop. So the first one's Google Sites. You can create a beautiful Google site for your digital portfolio. Weebly, that's Weebly, and Wix, Wix is fantastic. WordPress is good as well. You just got to find something that jives with your style and your comfort level with technology. With all the tools that you choose, that's what you want to focus on. What fits you and your style? I have a Wix website for my website. If you want to check that out. Um, I have my students create portfolios using Weebly, Google Sites, Wix, all the above, and they all do have a beautiful professional website that they can continue to update and show what they know using their portfolio. Whenever you have stuff in your portfolio, again, show, don't tell. So don't just have a block of text there. If you want to show engagement, student engagement in groups, maybe you have some pictures, maybe you have the lesson plan embedded, maybe you have the presentation that you created embedded within there, or buttons to different things that you want someone to look at. So you want it to be an engaging piece for someone to spend some time on your site looking through what you've created and how you've engaged students in learning. So don't just put a link in there without like someone being able to click on it. You know how it turns blue, you can just click right on it. Maybe you want to have a button or embed the stuff that you're talking about in your portfolio and really show it on there, embedded through a picture, slideshows, all sorts of things. You can really jazz it up. And whoever's asking about digital portfolios, if you hit me up over on Twitter or Instagram and DMs, I'll send you content that I work with my future teachers about how to create one from ground zero all the way up to ready to roll for a job fair. So just drop me a little note there and I'll be happy to send it your way.
Yeah, you might receive a few messages. Just tell
That's
you
great.
there's several questions that have been generated here about digital portfolios. What's the best format for a digital portfolio? What do you consider too much information about when sharing a digital portfolio? How to do portfolios?
Well,
Um,
Tim, this sounds to me like another session. I'm just
it does,
saying.
doesn't it? Um, Somebody's saying so. Digital portfolio is a website, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's correct. Yeah, it's your place for edu awesomeness. So everything that you're doing in your coursework and your fields and your observations and student teaching, pop it all on there because you want someone to have a one-stop shop to see how amazing you are as an educator. So it's your one-stop shop.
Should someone say if they haven't yet finished their portfolio and somebody asks about it?
Yeah, so there's some pages that just might not be finished. So for example, you might not have Let me think here. So the one example I thought of really quickly was for my freshman and sophomore teaching philosophy. It's coming, or clearances available upon request. If you have things that you're working on pages, for example, if you have stuff for engaging students in questioning and discussion techniques, or engaging students using educational technology, maybe go in there and give yourself a deadline to get it done and have under construction ready April 2020 or whatever it might be. So you are continuing to update that, and the person who's on your website can see, oh, okay, I can go and I can look for changes on this particular page on this day or during this month, and stick to that, because I think that will really help. You don't want to wait till last minute to update your portfolio. You want to be doing it throughout your college career. You don't want to wait till your end of student teaching putting stuff in. You want to go and keep massaging it and editing it and updating it as you go. I think that'll really help you out in the long run.
Great. Yeah, lots of questions here, trying to crank through them here for you.
Sure.
So let me go to this one. Sorry.
It's fine.
I had it marked and now it disappeared, but what should you do if your webcam is not the best quality?
Ooh, yeah, I have a webcam on another computer that is not the best. So I do tell the people if I'm on that computer, like, hey, you know what, this webcam is not the best. But if you'd prefer, we can just do voice or audio interview. We can do text interview, but just know that the quality is a little pixelated. If it's okay with you, can I join on my phone? So you can, just give them options and just be upfront and be like, you know what, the webcam I have, not great, but I can totally chat with you over audio. We can do a phone interview. We can do text. We can also do something over the phone too, with video. If your phone has a camera on it and it's better than the webcam, I would suggest that. Just be upfront and honest.
Okay. How do you stay fresh and creative when you receive the same screener questions over and over again?
Ooh, that's a good question. Screener questions. So I would have fun with it. Is there any way you can relate those questions to the district or what you've done? I would approach every interview as this is their first interview with you. They don't know that you've gotten all these questions before, like 5 or 6 times. Approach everyone with a fresh perspective, a fresh smile, a fresh mindset. Don't go in there being all like wah, wah, wah. Go in there, positive attitude, show them and dazzle them, show them what they want, what they want to see as a professional educator. Remember, share that screen and have that positive smiling attitude about it. Because even though, yes, everyone else has gotten those same screener questions, maybe you've got them a couple of times, approach it with a fresh attitude, a fresh perspective. And if you can relate them back to your passions and back to that specific district, that's some bonus points for life there.
Awesome. Let's see. If you do not have a large social media presence, should you start posting things now, and if so, what?
Oh, that's a great question. So it doesn't, large social media presence, I'm sorry, but people don't look at the administrators, interviewers don't look at the number of followers you have. They look at the content that you're posting, and followers will come as you post quality, consistent content. So I would go out there, I would maybe make a plan. I'm going to post 3 days this week. Oh my gosh, that's amazing, right? Or maybe, oh my gosh, that's too much, or that's too little. However you're feeling about that statement, try to find something that you can post that's positive and professional and related to education. So a great way to kind of dip your toe into that water or blow some dust off of that social media account would be post feedback from this webinar, post information for those of you who were talking about webinars and articles and researching, creating content. Share that out there. People want to see the great stuff that you're doing, and use relative hashtags that relate to that piece. So maybe you want to use hashtag EdChat, hashtag We Are AAE if you're sharing about this webinar. So you want to make sure that you're posting quality, consistent stuff, and maybe make a little calendar of stuff that you want to share. For example, for those who are reading books or reading articles, take a little picture of something that was interesting from that article, or and add your own 2 cents to it. Or maybe if you're reading stuff digitally, like from Edutopia or Edweek, you can go in there and you can screenshot a little picture about something that really spoke to your teaching heart, add a link to it, and pop your own 2 cents in there. So I would be posting some stuff on a continuous basis, and you can use tools like TweetDeck. If you're using Twitter, it's called TweetDeck, and it's free, and you can schedule stuff to go out. So I would spend an hour, find some cool stuff you want to post, schedule them to go out one time a day for the next week. Bada bing, bada boom, you blew some dust off your social media. But then don't just post and ghost, guys. Don't do that. You want to go back. You want to make sure people are responding to it, or people are liking it. Go in and start engaging in conversation.
Great. I've got a few questions here about thank you notes, and if
Sure.
you don't mind, I'll read all these. I think it's 3 or 4 questions here, and then maybe you can give a combined answer.
Okay.
Is it possible that email thank you notes are considered too much? Should you send more than one follow-up message if time has passed and you've not heard back? Should we send a thank you email right after the interview or a few days later? If you're doing a virtual interview, should you email your thank you? I always give cards, but to mail a card might be difficult during this time.
Okay, that was a lot. All right, so as for the follow-up, okay, guys, so I am one of those people, if I don't hear back from somebody, like in a day, I get like all like, ah, so I need to calm down. So maybe you're in that same boat. So just take a breath. It is okay. I would give them a week to 2 weeks to respond back from that thank you email, or to follow up, because they're busy people too. So take a breath. If you need to mark down the days, totally mark down the days, or set a little timer on your email. You can actually have stuff like remind you in 7 days to respond to this email. I use that a lot, so I don't get all like, oh, if they haven't responded yet, I need to check my email on the hour every hour. When it comes to thank you emails, yes, please send one. I would send one during the same day after the interview, the same day of your interview, because you're still fresh in their mind and you want to keep that positive mojo going. You can use some really cool tools to create some beautiful thank you letter. So it maybe kind of looks like a card. If you would like, you can use something like Microsoft Sway to create a beautiful thank you note, thank you letter, Canva, Adobe Spark, just to jazz it up a little bit. And just writing an email just in that email editor is fine too, with links that you want people to check out. Those could be really helpful as well. Something about mailing cards. I know that's really tough. I've been sending my students cards, and I know people are disinfecting all their mail and everything like that during this time. Honestly, I don't think it could hurt.
Yeah, well,
I don't think it
if
could
I could
hurt.
interject, and I
Sure.
probably should have just taken that one, but I think we know of a lot of school districts, right? They're not only teaching virtually, but that means their employees are in most cases, not all, but in most cases, they're working from home.
Right.
So I think that more than ever, I think in my opinion, you need to make the switch, at least for this spring, to electronic communications, and not try to mail it, not try to expect that it's going to be received anytime soon by the person that it's intended for. So that would be my answer to that question.
Thank you. That was excellent. You should have taken that one first.
I should have taken that one. So let's see. We're a little over time, but hopefully you can squeeze a few more in for us.
Yeah, we got like 5 more minutes before
Okay.
summer wakes up.
All right. So here's somebody who, due to the pandemic, they didn't get to finish their tests. What's your advice about getting teacher certification? But maybe more so in this context, how do you bring that up in an interview professionally? Is it okay to interview without my teacher license? And I'll start real quick and say, people are totally going to understand, unless they've got their head in the sand. They know what's going on right now.
Right.
So I think absolutely you proceed as normal. You share with them the best information you have on the status of your certification, and all of that, and don't fret it.
Yeah, pretty same, ditto. Yeah, just be upfront and honest. And with everything changing, state by state, who knows what'll come out. So just be honest and just say you're staying up to date with the, what's going on with whatever state you're in and the student teaching best practices and testing. But as of right now, you don't have your certification test completed. And people will, come on, people understand. We're all going through this together.
Yeah. And I'm just somebody posted, it's not a question, but somebody posted into the Q&A, which is great. New York State, for example, has waived requirements this year. And I know more and more states are they're dealing with that. They're navigating that. So again, I just think, go proceed as normal as you can, and everybody will, including teacher recruiters, will be completely understanding of the situation, or they should be.
Yeah.
I think that might actually, I'm looking at, there's some duplication here. So I think that might be it. So I want to thank you, Sam, so much for your time today.
Oh, thank you for the opportunity. This was a lot of fun. And make sure you guys go check out that webinar or the virtual job fair on Thursday.
Absolutely. And sounds like maybe you and I will be in touch about a potential digital portfolio.
That's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm feeling. Yeah, I think that'd be great. Yeah, friends, and you guys will get the presentation after this session. So please, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or compliments, totally drop me an email or find me over on social.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
This was recorded and will be shared with you when that's available. Bye-bye.
Awesome.